Take your hand off her. The words came from the darkest corner of the underground parking garage, quiet enough to be mistaken for a warning whispered by the concrete itself. Claire Whitmore froze beside the open door of a black van as three masked men turned toward the stranger standing beneath a flickering fluorescent light. He wore a weathered coat, worn boots, and the exhausted face of a man the city had passed 1,000 times without seeing. One of them laughed. "Walk away, homeless man." The stranger did not move. Rainwater dripped from his shoulders onto the gray floor. In one hand, he carried a paper bag holding 2 sandwiches, an apple, and the small carton of milk his daughter had asked for before bed. His name was Ethan Cole, though nobody in that garage knew it yet. His eyes moved once across the scene, the disabled camera, the van parked 6 inches too close to the support column, the trembling hand near Claire's shoulder. He noticed everything. "You heard him," another man said. "Leave." Ethan slowly placed the food on the ground. Somewhere beyond the concrete walls, thunder rolled over downtown Chicago, and the lights hummed like they were holding their breath. Claire studied him through the fear tightening her chest. He had no phone raised, no weapon, no visible reason to believe he could help her. Yet there was something unsettlingly calm in the way he stood, as if danger were not new to him, only unwelcome. Before this story continues, take one quiet moment to subscribe if you believe dignity can survive hardship, kindness can outlast cruelty, and forgotten people can still change the world. Then Ethan stepped forward. What followed happened without chaos, without cruelty, and without the anger the kidnappers expected. A van door slammed. A set of keys skidded across the floor. One man backed away, confused by how quickly control had left his hands. Another reached for Claire, but Ethan was already between them, guiding her toward the light with the steady certainty of someone who had led frightened people to safety before. "Stay behind me," he said. "Who are you?" Claire whispered. Ethan did not answer. Within moments, the men abandoned the attempt and fled through the service exit, leaving only the fading echo of footsteps and the distant rise of police sirens. Claire leaned against a concrete pillar, trying to catch her breath. Ethan picked up the paper bag and checked the milk carton for damage. That small gesture confused her more than anything else. "You saved my life," she said. "My daughter is waiting," he replied. He turned toward an abandoned security booth where an 8-year-old girl crouched beneath the desk, hugging a faded backpack. "Lily," Ethan called gently. "It's safe." The child ran to him, and he knelt, examining her face before handing her the apple as though nothing extraordinary had happened. Claire watched them beneath the cold garage lights, realizing the man with no home had protected a stranger as if her life mattered. What she did not know was that Ethan Cole had once carried a different name into places absent from every public map. And somewhere inside that dark garage, the past he had buried had just opened its eyes. Ethan led Lily away from the security booth before the police cars reached the lower level, but Claire followed them through the concrete corridor, unwilling to let the man who had saved her disappear into the rain. "Please wait," she called. Ethan stopped near the service ramp, where cold air carried the smell of wet pavement and gasoline into the garage. Lily held his hand with both of hers, her faded backpack hanging from one shoulder. "The officers will need your statement," Claire said. Ethan looked toward the flashing lights spreading red and blue across the ceiling. "They need yours more. You were there. So were the cameras." Claire glanced at the damaged security unit. Those cameras were disabled. Ethan said nothing. The silence between them felt heavier than the storm outside. Lily tugged gently at his sleeve. "Dad, is the milk okay?" Ethan opened the paper bag, checked the small carton again, and smiled. "Still cold." "Good," she said. "Cold milk tastes more expensive." Claire felt something tighten in her chest. The girl said it like a joke, but Ethan lowered his eyes for half a second, long enough for Claire to understand there was truth beneath it. "Where are you staying tonight?" she asked. "We have a place." Lily looked up at him, then toward the rain. "The truck counts as a place, right?" Ethan's expression remained calm, but his grip around her hand softened. "It counts until morning." Claire had spent her life negotiating with investors, attorneys, and people who measured every word before speaking. Ethan did not seem to measure his words at all. He measured what Lily could carry. Outside, Their old blue pickup sat beneath a broken streetlight, one rear tire low, rust showing around the wheel wells. A blanket covered the windshield from the inside. A plastic storage bin rested in the truck bed beside 2 gallons of water and a small camping stove. Ethan opened the passenger door, then brushed crumbs from the seat before helping Lily climb inside. "We are camping in the city," Lily explained to Claire. "The buildings are our mountains." "And the streetlights?" Claire asked. "Stars that forgot how to move." Ethan closed the door gently. He had taught his daughter to rename hardship so it would not frighten her. Hunger became waiting. Cold became adventure. A parked truck became home. Claire reached into her coat for her wallet. Ethan noticed and shook his head before she could speak. "I am not offering charity," she said. "Neither am I asking for it." "Then let me pay you for helping me. You were in danger. That does not make your time worthless." Ethan looked through the window at Lily, who was drawing circles in the fogged glass. "My time belongs to her." The answer carried no pride, only fact. Claire lowered her hand. "At least let me arrange a hotel for one night." "No." "Why?" "Because favors become questions, and questions become records." Claire studied him. "What are you afraid they will find?" Ethan turned toward the distant sirens. "Not what they will find." His voice dropped. "What they will misunderstand." Before Claire could ask more, 2 officers entered the ramp with flashlights raised. One called for Ethan to step away from the truck. Lily's drawing stopped. Ethan lifted his hands slowly, not because he was frightened, but because his daughter was watching. "Keep your head up, sweetheart," he said. Then Claire saw the officers look at his worn coat, his truck, and his empty pockets, and she understood how quickly the world could turn a rescuer into a suspect. The older officer kept his flashlight trained on Ethan while the younger one opened the passenger door and asked Lily to step out. She looked at her father first. Ethan nodded once. "Do exactly what he says, sweetheart." Lily climbed down with the apple still in her hand, her small shoes landing in a shallow ribbon of rainwater. Claire moved between her and the officer. "This man saved me," she said. "He is not the person you should be questioning like this." Please step back," the older officer replied. "We received a report that one suspect remained at the scene." "From whom?" Ethan asked. His voice was quiet, but the question made the officer pause. Before anyone answered, polished shoes clicked across the ramp. Marcus Vale emerged from the garage with 2 members of Whitmore Dynamics Security behind him. His charcoal overcoat was dry despite the storm, and his silver tie remained perfectly straight. "Claire," he said, crossing to her. "Thank God you are safe." He placed himself beside her as though he had arrived to restore order, then looked at Ethan with practiced concern. "Is this the man?" "This is the man who got me out," Claire said. Marcus studied Ethan's coat, the aging truck, and Lily's faded backpack. "Or the man who made sure he was here when you needed rescuing." The rain tapped against the metal railing. Lily moved closer to Claire. Ethan did not defend himself. He watched Marcus instead, noting the spotless cuffs, the missing company identification badge, and the faint gray dust along the edge of one shoe. Dust from the private elevator corridor below, a corridor Marcus claimed he had not entered that evening. "That is absurd," Claire said. "I watched Ethan protect me." "You were frightened," Marcus replied gently. "People remember confusion as certainty." He turned to the officers. "Our preliminary review shows the kidnappers knew Miss Whitmore's departure time and her exact route. This man has been sleeping less than 200 feet from the building. So have 4 delivery drivers and half a dozen construction workers," Claire said. "None of them appeared inside a secured garage," Marcus answered. The younger officer searched near Ethan's truck and returned holding a dark handgun inside a clear evidence bag. "Found beneath the driver's seat." Lily stared at it, then at her father. "That is not his," she said. Marcus sighed as if her words saddened him. Children do not always know the lives their parents lead. Ethan's eyes hardened, not with fear, but with recognition. "Do not speak for my daughter." The sentence was low. Final. Even Marcus fell silent for a beat. The older officer stepped forward with handcuffs. Claire protested again, but Ethan placed his hands behind his back without resistance. Metal clicked beneath the broken streetlight. He could have argued. He could have exposed every weakness in their assumptions. Instead, he looked only at Lily. "Keep your head up, sweetheart." Her chin trembled, but she raised it. Claire took her hand. As the officers guided Ethan toward the patrol car, Marcus leaned closer and spoke too softly for anyone else to hear. "You should have kept walking." Ethan stopped. 3 words. One mistake. Marcus had repeated the warning spoken in the garage before he arrived. Ethan turned just enough to meet his eyes, and Marcus understood that he had revealed something he could never take back. At the station, the interview room smelled of stale coffee and floor cleaner. A detective placed photographs on the table and asked how Ethan had known where the cameras were positioned. "I looked," Ethan replied. "How did you know which exit they would use?" "It was the only route without public traffic." "How did you recognize their communication pattern?" Ethan's gaze lifted slowly. That detail had never appeared in Claire's statement. It had not been shared over police radio. Only the kidnappers and whoever commanded them could have known it. Ethan leaned back as the fluorescent light buzzed above him. The first abduction had not failed. It had been a test, and someone inside Whitmore Dynamics was already preparing the real one. Claire spent the next hour in a private conference room above the police station, watching security footage that had survived the system failure. The recording was incomplete, grainy, and silent, but one detail refused to leave her mind. Ethan never moved like a frightened bystander. He moved like someone reading a map no one else could see. He checked the ceiling before the floor. He watched the reflections in the van windows. He placed himself between Claire and every possible exit without once looking uncertain. Detective Mara Benson stood beside the screen with her arms folded. "That is not street experience," she said. "Then what is it?" Claire asked. Benson replayed the moment Ethan stepped beneath the fluorescent light. Training. Serious training. He had fallen because the systems built to honor service had no place for a man whose service could not be acknowledged. "Marcus knew your history," she said. "Enough of it. Do you know him?" Ethan reached into his coat and placed a small sketch on the counter, the black triangle and white line he remembered from the tattoo. "I know this symbol." Claire's face changed. "It appears on equipment shipped through one of our defense subsidiaries." Ethan looked at her. "Who approved those contracts?" "Marcus." The answer settled between them like cold air under a door. Then Ethan's phone, an old prepaid model, vibrated once. A message appeared from an unknown number. 3 words filled the screen. "Ghost One returned." Ethan stared at it without blinking. Claire saw the calm leave his eyes for the first time. "Who is Ghost One?" she asked. Ethan turned off the phone. "A man I promised Lily she would never have to meet." The message vanished from Ethan's screen before Claire could read it again, leaving only his reflection in the dark glass. "We need to leave," he said. "Now." Claire looked toward Lily's room. "The apartment is guarded. That is why they know where we are." 3 knocks sounded at the door. Slow. Even. Familiar enough to seem harmless. Ethan raised one hand, and Claire stopped moving. The hallway camera showed a Whitmore Dynamics driver holding a sealed envelope. "Miss Whitmore," the man called. Mr. Vale sent revised travel documents for the morning. Ethan studied the screen. The driver wore the correct uniform, but his jacket carried rain on only one shoulder. He had not walked from the street. He had been waiting inside the building. "Do not open it," Ethan said. The fire alarm sounded before Claire could answer. A sharp bell filled the apartment. Red lights flashed above the doorway. Lily appeared in the hall, frightened but silent, clutching her backpack. Ethan crossed to her and knelt. "Remember our city camping rule." Lily nodded. "Shoes, coat, backpack. Good. Stay with Claire." Smoke began curling beneath the kitchen vent, thin and pale, not from fire but from a device hidden in the ventilation system. The building guards ordered everyone toward the main stairwell. Ethan looked through the peephole and saw 2 men waiting near the elevator, guiding residents in the wrong direction. "We take the service stairs," he said. "Marcus controls building security, Claire whispered. Then Marcus controls the evacuation. They moved down 17 floors through a narrow stairwell that smelled of dust and damp concrete. Ethan counted doors, cameras, and footsteps above them. At the 6th floor, he stopped. They are not following, Claire said. They are directing us. The service exit opened into a loading bay where a black company vehicle waited with its rear door raised. Marcus stood beside it, holding an umbrella. His expression was calm, almost disappointed. Claire, he said. One person you trust. Lily swallowed. You. Ethan placed his palm flat against the wet concrete. Then trust me. I am coming. The vehicle disappeared into the rain before the gate lifted. Marcus was gone with them. Ethan did not chase blindly. That was what Marcus expected. Instead, he returned to the old blue pickup beneath the broken streetlight. Behind the passenger seat was a metal box Lily believed held tools. Ethan opened it for the first time in 12 years. Inside rested a faded unit patch, a military identification card with one corner removed, a folded map, and a letter addressed to the family of Captain Owen Reed, the friend who had never returned from Ethan's final mission. Beneath them lay a small encrypted radio wrapped in canvas. Ethan turned it on. Static filled the truck. This channel was closed, an older voice said after several seconds. So was I, Ethan replied. Silence followed. Then the voice softened. Ethan. They have my daughter. Colonel Daniel Mercer did not ask who. Location. Not yet. Marcus Vale is using Whitmore security assets and an old contractor network. Mercer drew a slow breath. Vale was listed as dead 11 years ago. He has been living well. I can send a federal response team. Not until I know where Lily is. Marcus will be watching official channels. Then what do you need? Ethan unfolded the old map across the steering wheel. Access to archived satellite records, freight routes, and every property connected to Whitmore defense contracts within 50 miles. Mercer hesitated. That requires reopening your sealed file. Open it. Once I do, Ghost One exists again. Ethan looked at Lily's empty seat, the fogged window, and the small drawing of stars she had traced into the glass. Ghost One does not matter. His voice was calm now. Clear. A little girl is waiting for her father. Mercer was silent for one heartbeat, then two. Understood, Major Cole. Ethan closed his eyes at the rank he had not heard in years. He had once entered impossible places as a soldier, carrying orders, maps, and the weight of a flag on his shoulder. This time, he would enter as something stronger. No direct assault, Ethan said. No unnecessary force. Claire and Lily come out first. Everyone comes home. Your old rules, Mercer replied. Ethan looked toward the rain-covered city. No. My daughter's rules. The abandoned Whitmore manufacturing plant stood 43 miles west of Chicago, surrounded by empty fields and a rusted fence that sang beneath the storm wind. Ethan parked half a mile away and approached through the darkness, guided by an old drainage route Mercer had found in the archived plans. Inside, Claire sat beside Lily in a locked office overlooking the factory floor. Marcus placed the transfer documents on a metal table. Sign them, he said. No, Claire replied. Then the girl stays until you reconsider. Lily squeezed Claire's hand, remembering her father's voice. 3 things she could see. A red emergency light. A silver ventilation grate. A white maintenance label beside the door. 2 things she could hear. Rain striking the windows. A generator humming beneath the floor. 1 person she trusted. Her father. Claire followed Lily's gaze and noticed the grate was fastened loosely at one corner. You are very brave, she whispered. Lily shook her head. Dad says brave people can still be scared. Beneath the building, Ethan moved through a service tunnel filled with cold water and the smell of old machinery. He found the backup power line, the ventilation controls, and a faded evacuation map. 3 systems. 1 plan. He radioed Mercer. Hold your team at the East Road. You are going in alone. I am making sure they can come out. Ethan cut power to the upper offices but left the emergency lights running. The factory fell into a dim red silence. Marcus turned toward the door. Find him. His men spread across the building, but Ethan never gave them the confrontation they expected. Doors locked behind them. Security shutters separated them. Warning alarms guided them away from Claire and Lily. He did not overpower the building. He understood it. Claire lifted the loose grate while Lily reached through and pulled the emergency release cord. The office door clicked open. They slipped into the hallway just as Ethan appeared at the far end beneath a flashing light. "Dad," Lily breathed. Ethan crossed the distance and knelt, checking her face, her hands, and her breathing. "3 things," he asked. "You, Claire, the way out." For the first time that night, Ethan smiled. Marcus stepped from the shadows holding the tablet with the stolen contracts. "This ends only one way," he said. "It already ended," Ethan replied. "Mercer has the files." Marcus's confidence broke. "You have no proof." Claire raised her phone. She had recorded every demand, every threat, and every confession from the locked office. Sirens began rising beyond the fields. Marcus stared at Ethan with 12 years of hatred in his eyes. "You should have stayed forgotten." Ethan moved between him and Lily. "You took my uniform," he said quietly. "You do not get to take my character." Marcus tried to escape through the loading bay, but federal vehicles sealed the road before he reached the gate. Moments later, Colonel Daniel Mercer entered the factory with Detective Benson and a federal team. He saw Ethan standing beside Claire and Lily, his worn coat soaked with rain, his hands empty, his daughter safe. Mercer stopped. Then the retired colonel raised his hand in a formal salute. "Ghost One is still alive." No one spoke. Claire looked at Ethan, finally understanding that his greatest strength had never been force. It was restraint. It was dignity. It was the promise that no one under his protection would ever be left behind. "A home is not proof that life was kind to you," Ethan said. "It is proof that someone made room for you." He paused, his voice calm and warm. "Do not measure people by where they sleep. Measure them by who they refuse to leave behind." No one applauded immediately. The silence came first, deep and full of respect. Then Lily ran to him, Claire joined them beneath the morning light, and the man the city had once ignored finally stood inside a home he had helped build for everyone.